Welcome to the second lesson of the flipped classroom. Please make sure that you have with you handout 1B and your writing materials. As we go through the lesson, there will be some questions that I will need you to answer and write down on the handout itself. Please pause the video now if you do not have them in hand. Before we begin exploring some new concepts which we will be learning today, I would like to first revisit some content that we have talked about last week, just to refresh your memory. Although the lessons are structured into different sections with different subtopics, as you can see here, it is important for you to remember that all these concepts are linked to one another, and you must be able to see the big picture. So far, we have not answered the main geographical question of how we can save the rainforest, because we must first know what tropical rainforests are. In the last flipped classroom lesson, we explored three important things that help us understand what tropical rainforests are. I would like to now do a very simple recap on the things we have talked about last week by inviting you to answer the following three questions on handout 1B. You may now want to pause the video to give you some time to answer these three simple questions. Have you attempted the three questions? Don't worry if you are unsure about the answers. The important thing is that you have made an effort to attempt it. We shall come to class to discuss about these three questions and clarify if you have any other doubts. Now, today we are going to talk about plant adaptations, and some of you may wonder, what does the word adaptation actually mean? Well, let me give you a very simple example. Recall the first day where you came to Simin, and some of you may have looked like the girl in the cartoon, very scared and worried. You were worried about new friends that you were making. You probably missed the teachers and canteen food in your primary school, and the list of worries goes further. Now, perhaps your parents may have asked you about your first day in school and whether you were able to adapt. So, adaptation will require you to possess some new traits so that you will be comfortable with the environment here in Simin. Perhaps you will have to reduce the time you had playing computer games because you will need to listen to this lesson on the internet itself. So these are all possible changes that you have to make to slowly adapt to life in secondary school. Well, on the same note, adaptation when applied to plants and animals simply refer to special features that allow them to survive in a particular environment or climate. For example, look at this picture. A polar bear possesses a very thick coat of fur to help them survive freezing temperatures in the Arctic. Similarly, plants in the tropical rainforest possess adaptations to help them survive in the equatorial climate. Now, since we have talked about the equatorial climate during the last lesson, I would like you to think about the potential problems plants may face in the tropical rainforest. If you find this difficult, just think of the problems you face living in a tropical country like Singapore. You may now want to pause the video to give you some time to write down your responses. Have you written down some potential problems plants may face while trying to survive in the environment of a tropical rainforest? Good. When we go through the various adaptations of the plants later, you will need to pay special attention to the problems of living in the tropical rainforest and how plants actually adapt to overcome these conditions. We'll be looking at adaptations of a plant through its leaves, fruits and flowers, bark and branches, and its roots. Now let's start off with the leaves of the tropical rainforest. Due to the intense competition for sunlight, because of the high density of tropical rainforests, where plants grow very closely to one another, the leaves of the plants have adapted to being large and broad so as to maximize area to take in sunlight for the important process of photosynthesis. Now you can see the sizes of the leaves especially the picture on your right, which is a banana leaf that many people in Singapore use to serve food such as nasi lemak or nasi biryani. Next, because of the high temperatures present in the tropical rainforest, the leaves also possess either a waxy, leathery, or hairy surface, so that they can minimize water loss through transpiration to ensure that the plant does not dehydrate and wither easily. Now, the picture on the left shows you a very waxy leaf. You can see that the leaf is very shiny and it has a waxy surface. If you look closely on the picture on your right, you can see that the leaves are hairy. Plants in the tropical rainforest also possess narrow drip tips on their leaves, which is seen in the picture below. This special adaptation allows rainwater to drain off easily, thus preventing bacterial or fungi growth on the leaf itself. Now, it is extremely important as there is constantly high amount of rainfall in the tropical rainforest, and bacteria and fungi grows very easily if water is accumulated on the leaves. Next, let us move on to talk about fruits and flowers of plants in the tropical rainforest. Now, the fruits and flowers serve an important role as they need to be dispersed to ensure that young plants continue to grow in an area. Now, since the area below the canopy has very still air due to the high density of plants in the area, seeds and pollen are unable to be carried by the wind. So therefore, the fruits and flowers in the tropical rainforest must be colorful and sweet-smelling to attract insects to pollinate and animals to actually disperse their seeds to ensure the continued survival of its plant species. Now, actually in this picture you can see a variety of tropical fruits, and you can see that all of these fruits are actually dispersed by animals. For example, the monkey actually consumes bananas and will help to disperse its seeds. Similarly, for fruits like mangoes, very big birds such as your pied hornbills will actually consume it and help to disperse it. Now, some of the plants are really unique and they actually attract an unusual group of animals to help pollinate it. This is a rafflesia plant which actually uses flies to help spread its pollen, and it attracts them due to a special property found in no other plant. Now let me show you a video for you to find out how this plant actually attracts flies.
When people think of the natural wonders of the plant kingdom, Borneo is what springs to mind. But we're here in the jungles of peninsular Malaysia. We've just walked into the great state of Kelantan over the border of Perak, and we want to see something entirely remarkable. First documented in the late 16th century by French botanist Louis Deschamps, Rafflesia is the largest flower in the world. At about 85 centimeters in diameter, this specimen isn't even the largest, but Rafflesia kerrii, which we find here in northern Malaysia and in southern Thailand, is the second largest species there is. Of the 15 or 20 species of Rafflesia recognised, they're all characterised by the same features. 5 perigon lobes, which are equivalent to the petals of any other flower. And inside, a corollary disc, which is specialised to release pheromones that, well, attract flies. Hence the common name of the corpse flower. It smells of rotting meat. About 5 days ago, this was a Rafflesia bloom in its prime. At approximately 110 centimeters across, this is almost as large as these plants get, making this one of nature's true spectacles. Here we can see a bloom of Rafflesia growing on its host vine Tetrastigma. It's about 25 centimeters across, and it's about 3 days from flowering. At 30 centimeters across, this bloom is just a day away from coming into flower. At the moment, it doesn't smell of anything at all, but tomorrow is another day.
Now let's move on to talk about the barks and branches of trees in the tropical rainforest. For the barks of the trees, they are thin and smooth to allow water to flow easily from the top of the tree to the roots. This is again due to the high amounts of rainfall present in the equatorial climate. For the branches, it spreads out like an umbrella near the top to obtain sunlight. This layer of branches which spread out will eventually form the continuous canopy which we have talked about during the last lesson. Lastly, let's take a look at the adaptations of the roots. Now, the trees in the tropical rainforest grow to massive sizes due to the favorable climate, which includes very high temperatures and rainfall. Firstly, the roots of trees are shallow and spread widely. This is because nutrients are only present at the top layer of the soil because of rapid decomposition of plant matter due to the high temperatures and rainfall of the tropical rainforest. The roots do not need to go deep underground because there is very little nutrients that they can take from deep underneath the soil. Secondly, trees in the tropical rainforest possess thick buttress roots to actually support the weight and height of the tree. Let me actually show you what buttress roots look like. As you can see, the roots of the trees are even taller than a normal adult. We have come to the end of the second lesson of the flipped classroom. Please bring along these materials for class when we see each other. Thank you for your attention, and we will see you in class.